You are now watching The Meech.
During the heyday of the Wii and Nintendo DSi, as well as the 3DS and Wii U, it was common for Nintendo to release games specifically for the eShop. This was great for many reasons. As a kid, I often couldn't get big games until my birthday or Christmas, but I usually was able to get eShop games in between. I still remember how excited I was to get Mario and Donkey Kong, minis on the move. In fact, many of the games I played on my DSi were DSiWare. It provides a great way to play a variety of games for a reasonable cost. One of the biggest issues with Nintendo Switch games are that many of them are absurdly overpriced for what they have to offer. Notable examples being most of the sports games, such as Nintendo Switch Sports and Mario Strikers Battle League. But Kirby is back to save the day yet again with Kirby's Dream Buffet. This game was a surprise party for a few reasons. I was not expecting a fun little Kirby spin-off in addition to the phenomenal Forgotten Land we got this year. It's also a rare treat, an eShop game from Nintendo in the Switch era. Well, I should say how, so that the base and tweeters don't go after me, but Kirby is essentially synonymous with Nintendo. Talk to me when Kirby is on the Play Store or Ouya. You thought I was gonna say PlayStation, didn't you? The point still stands, although a Kirby mobile game wouldn't surprise me too much. What did surprise me is that this is the first birthday-themed anniversary game I've ever seen. Anniversary celebrations can go in many different directions. You could end up like Mario and be given a Mr. Krabs level celebration of a lazy collection of ports. And speaking of Mr. Krabs, you could even worse end up like SpongeBob and get the most awkward, phoned-in anniversary special designed solely as a ratings trap. Remember when Nickelodeon said they'd reveal the Krabby Patty formula and SpongeBob and Sandy would get married, only for Patchy to then call random celebrities for over an hour? Riders DX remembers.
For the love of God, make it stop!
Or on the other side of the Krabby Patty, you could end up with an excellent anniversary, such as SpongeBob's Birthday Blowout. Really felt like a celebration to the entire series. And in another birthday-themed celebration, we have Kirby's Dream Buffet. Kirby anniversaries have always been excellent, most notably the 20th with Nintendo's best compilation ever made. We'll be having our cake and eating it too, as we take a look at Kirby's Dream Buffet. The story is let them eat cake. That's it. Let's do this! The gameplay of Kirby's Dream Buffet is quite unique. It's a layer cake of different genres and isn't just one. You'll be primarily competing in the Grand Prix. The core gameplay consists of rolling around and eating strawberries. By eating strawberries as well as other fruits, Kirby can become larger. That's the main objective of the game. Whichever Kirby is the largest is the winner. So yes, size absolutely does matter. The control itself is very simplistic, with the only movement being the analog stick to move, the B button to jump, and the R button for abilities. I was a bit surprised, but this isn't a bad thing. The gameplay is designed around a simple concept, but one that is intuitive. In addition, Kirby can use food copy abilities. They are similar to copy abilities, but they incorporate different foods to represent them. I really love that attention to detail, but unlike the copy abilities, they can only be used for a limited time. Abilities such as the jelly ability allow Kirby to become gelatinous and slide under platforms and move a bit faster, and the classic stone and spike abilities keep their original ability, but as a strong attack you can only use once. For the kind of game Dream Buffet is, it makes sense. They're kinda similar to items in Mario Kart. And speaking of Mario Kart, let's talk about the racing sections. Each Grand Prix consists of 2 racetracks. These tracks are simplistic in design, and the courses go for a theme of food. There are many different ones, but they're more like levels in a Kirby game rather than Mario Kart tracks. They're very well designed, but they're not designed to be detailed racetracks like the ones in Mario Kart. But believe it or not, the racing is only half of the Grand Prix. After the first race, you'll play a Mario Party-esque minigame. That can include eating strawberries that fall into cups, or breaking open crates to eat more strawberries. They serve as a great appetizer in the Grand Prix, and although you won't be able to rack up massive amounts of berries and cream, they're pretty fun regardless. Oh no. Oh no! Battle Royale? A Battle Royale mode couldn't fundamentally work! Oh. Excuse me, guys. I was just getting flashbacks to the responses when I suggested it would be cool to have Battle Royale in Splatoon 3. But it seems Kirby fans don't have an animosity towards additional content. The Battle Royale mode has 4 Kirbys going up against each other, and whoever ends up with the most strawberries wins. This is where you can make a pretty sweet comeback. You can rack up a lot of strawberries here, and potentially get first place. You'll do this by using food copy abilities and knocking other Kirbys off the platform. The levels also vary, where you'll be jumping on burgers, only to then play a sweet rendition of Wispy Woods next. At the end of the Grand Prix, you can actually get additional strawberries by completing certain objectives, things such as hovering the longest, or eating the most of a certain type of fruit. But by far one of the best aspects of the gameplay is that you always will have a chance to recover. Have you ever played Mario Kart before and not done well? You might be somewhere like in the 3rd track and you'll be in 6th place. You pretty much have given up hope at that point. But in Kirby's Dream Buffet, you could be in 4th place in the 3rd round, and once you reach the Battle Royale, you could actually recover to get in 1st place. Now to be fair, there is some luck involved, but that would apply to pretty much all video games out there, and a lot of it is based on skill. You'll really develop a lot of strategies while playing through the game, determining which one will be right for you. The core gameplay is a concept that anyone can understand, but it remains incredibly intuitive. Considering that this is pretty much the entire game, I was worried it would get repetitive fast, but the more I played it, the more fun I was having. It's a smaller scale game, so it might not be something you'll play non-stop, but I could see myself going back to it quite frequently. The overall gameplay is excellent, but there are a few issues that should have been addressed. For some reason, you cannot select the tracks and minigames you want to play. It's all randomized, and having the option to play whatever track you wanted would have been nice, something like a Mario Kart Versus mode. But as I stated before, the tracks are not like the ones in Mario Kart where you'll have noticeable favorites. It's also only at 30 frames per second like Forgotten Land, but similar to that game, it's optimized for it. It's getting more and more apparent day after day we either need a more powerful Switch or just a successor entirely. But other than that, the gameplay remains delightful. The presentation of Kirby's Dream Buffet has only one problem. It makes me crave desserts and burgers. I promised myself I wouldn't let myself get tubby again, and this game is making that increasingly difficult to do. The entire theme of the game is centered around food, and Dream Buffet goes all out with it. The food in the levels look great. The attention to detail, phenomenal. All the enemies are food too, such as being sugar-coated like sour gummy worms and having frosting on them. And overall, this is a gorgeous looking game. A great art direction goes a long way, and it's clear the developers were having a blast making everything look as delicious as possible. The amount of music in the game might just surprise you, because it includes tracks from nearly every Kirby game. You'll hear them primarily in the racing sections, but there are some new compositions. It truly showcases that this is a game to celebrate Kirby's anniversary. Kirby's Dream Buffet is a very multiplayer-centric game. You can play online with friends or in a random match. The random matches are essentially like playing the game with computer players, but since these are real players, there is more skill involved, but the game pretty much remains the same. But with Nintendo Switch Online being Nintendo Switch Online, well, there are occasional hiccups playing online. It's not to the point of being unplayable like Smash and Mario Maker 2, but it's nowhere near as smooth as something like Splatoon 2 or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and even the upcoming Splatoon 3. Honestly, talking about just how bad Nintendo Switch Online is like talking about how the sky is blue. But really, it should be against the law for Nintendo to sell a service that barely does what it's advertised to do, especially with Smash and Mario Maker 2. I say barely because the online with friends in my experience is way better. My friend and I have good internet connections, and as long as your connections are good, you should be okay. We played it a few nights ago, and let me tell you, we had a blast playing it. Though, I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit he absolutely obliterated me. But at least I won the last match. But don't worry, get ready to lose next time. I've also played it locally as well with good old Riley Boy. We had a great time playing the game, but with the local multiplayer in the game, it's only for 2-player split screen. You can't play with more than 2 players, and for some, that might be a deal breaker. But for me at least, I usually just play games in 2-player anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal, and it plays excellently as well. I'm sure 4-player split screen would have been implemented if the Switch wasn't so underpowered, and like I said before, it's getting more and more apparent each day. But other than the lack of 4-player multiplayer locally, the multiplayer is great. When it comes to multiplayer-centric Switch games, content is almost always a concern. We've seen time and time again that Nintendo is not afraid to release games that are clearly unfinished with next to no content. Not only does it make these games become boring very fast, but they always have another aspect that ruins them. No incentive to keep playing. Taking a look at Nintendo multiplayer games before the Switch era, they always had unlockable characters and content. They're extremely important to have because you get a sense of progression, but when a game doesn't have them, you don't have much of an incentive to keep playing. The recent Mario sports games have really no unlockable characters, and because there's so little content and little incentive, I stopped playing them. But you want to take a guess at how many unlockables there are in Dream Buffet? None? Some? One? You'll be delighted to find out that there are more than 256 unlockables. 256! Number sounds awfully familiar. You'll earn unlockables by playing the game and leveling up your skill level, which increases based on, well, just how good you are at the game. And the best part is that unlike Nintendo Switch Sports or some of their other multiplayer games, nothing is tied behind online. Your ranking and all the unlockables are obtainable offline. But what are these unlockables, you may ask? Kirby can wear many different costumes and rock many different colors. When character customization is in a game, I'm always a huge fan. Even something as simple as changing the color of Kirby, with the mysterious vanish of Purple Yoshi, I'll take what I can get. And the Kawasaki Sunset look is just beautiful. And you can make Kirby look like other characters as well. It doesn't get much more adorable than Rick Kirby. You can also unlock treats with artwork from past Kirby games to admire, and to use to decorate the cake. This is really where the anniversary aspect of the game shines the most, considering you're getting artwork from all the mainline Kirby games and even some of the spin-offs. And guess what? You can also get music. As I stated before, it's a collection of music from the series, and there are a lot of tracks. I do wish you could choose which ones played during the Grand Prix, but the amount of unlockables is excellent. In terms of content, the game has many unlockables, but not many additional modes. There is a free roaming mode, but it's essentially just a training mode to practice using the controls and food abilities. But considering it's $15, I think it's more than enough justified. So far we've established Kirby's Dream Buffet has excellent gameplay, an excellent presentation, and a shockingly high amount of content, but it definitely could have benefited from having 4-player local multiplayer, as well as being able to select things such as tracks. So what's the verdict? Kirby's Dream Buffet is a masterclass in game design. What it lacks in options is just made up for by how much fun the game is, and it's absolutely gorgeous to boot. The only difference is that this is absolutely the case for Dream Buffet, rather than being a quote from a totally not paid off for by Nintendo review I came across. Dream Buffet does so much right. It essentially takes the multiplayer Switch game curse and shatters it into sprinkles. It has unlockables, the gameplay is an absolute blast, and the presentation is stellar. It's a smaller scale game, which is why it's only $15, but just because it's not expensive doesn't mean it's bad. It's similar to how smartphones have different price ranges. If you want a meatier experience, you'll probably want something like Forgotten Land. And that right there could be the potential solution to Nintendo's multiplayer Switch game issue. If a game like Mario Tennis Aces was $15, I may be singing a slightly different tune. But even on its own, I absolutely love Kirby's Dream Buffet. Not only is it a blast, but hands down, the best anniversary game ever made. Most are compilations or remakes, and Kirby's Dream Collection was already a masterpiece on its own. But to have the sort of party theme with the cake, as well as decorations and music tracks based on the series' history, that is what I call a party, and it's very creative at that. Kirby's Dream Buffet gets the ranking of a hot fudge sundae topped with edible gold. In other words, delicious treasure. So there you have it. Kirby's Dream Buffet was such a fun and unexpected surprise, and I hope to see more games like it. I just hope it won't take 256 years. 256.
Hello, Moto.
Hold on. Soshi, is that you?
Hello? Is this Demeech? I heard you need some backup for your next review. Or in this case, some pack up.